Beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area. Clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dax corner and it goes. Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome back to another live edition of On the Other Side Live with me, Ryan Hildred from Rovers Chat. And it's been an emotional week for Rovers, hasn't it? Ended in the best way possible, though, last time out. A comeback victory at home to Derby County to hopefully get us back on track in terms of the playoffs and the top six. And next up is the final match before the international break that snuck up on us again. And we're travelling to the Select Car Leasing Stadium, as it's known these days, to face Reading. And giving us the lowdown on the Royals this evening is Dave. He's back on the show from the Elm Park Royals podcast. How you doing, Dave?
Doing well, thank you. Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming on again, mate. And Rovers fans watching, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please give this video a like and please turn on all notifications using that bell icon. Super Chat's available as it always is. And thank you to Blue Rose Capital and sixyardsout.com for their very kind sponsorship as ever. So, Dave, let's make a start on the preview then. We spoke last season. A nearly season for Reading last season. After spending much of the season in the top six, ultimately you lost out by finishing 7 points behind in 7th place. And this season, it's been more of a struggle. And actually, I thought you appeared to start the season okay. And from an outsider looking in, for me, it just feels like all these off-field issues just seem to really disrupt you and lead to the point where you are now. So is that a fair assessment of things?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. We had a fairy tale start to the season last year, and everyone was saying, "Oh, they'll drop off," and unfortunately, we then did. At the time, it seemed like we just didn't quite have the squad big enough, or you could speak it away. But then over the summer and coming into everything that's happened this season, it's becoming very, very clear to us that the core of the club is absolutely rotten. We're being led by an incompetent board, a naive owner, and a super agent that is lining his own pockets at our expense, essentially. So it then becomes no surprise what happened at the end of last season and why we find ourselves right down at the bottom, staring at a possible relegation.
And obviously, one of the off-field things that did happen was the 6-point deduction that you got. And that's obviously involved you in the relegation battle now. You still would be in the same position that you are on 36 points. Obviously, you'd have a bit more of a cushion to the sides below you. So what is the latest in terms of finances, FFP, any future sanctions? Because I think you are very close to the wire again, aren't you?
Yep. We basically just did enough to get it. The second 6 points deferred. They haven't gone away. They are deferred. If we stick to this agreed business plan with the EFL, then we should avoid that through till next season, and then we'll see what happens. The downside being that I don't know that our financial incomings and outgoings have actually improved all that much. We've shifted some big earners off of the wage bill, which is good. A ton of players are out of contract. I think we've got about 9 senior players left after the end of this season, and we can't offer them anyone new contracts right now. So those wages will go as well. But just years and years of terrible decisions, and then very, very bad advice at the top means our outgoings are still way too high compared to our incomings. And should we make that drop into League One, those incomings are going to really dwindle. A club of our size can't handle that drop without a significant loss.
It's just so sad to see. I spoke to a Derby fan. Obviously, we played Derby last time, and I just hate seeing clubs go through this. Rovers obviously aren't perfect in terms of ownership, but it's just the bloody fans that lose out all of the time. And yeah, it's such a shame to see. So I hope it sorts itself out one way or another. One of the casualties this season, though, has been the manager. Good season, really, last season for Veljko Paunovic. You know, a real surprise. He was relieved of his duties, though, in mid-February after a victory, of all things, away at Preston. Then Paul Ince just came in from nowhere. So surprising to see that appointment. And that's a man who Rovers fans do not remember fondly at all. So was Paunovic right to lose his job? And second question, what's been the impression of Paul Ince so far?
Yeah, so in terms of Paunovic, I mean, he came in flying, as we saw. I think the word surprise that you used there is unfortunately what it was. People didn't really know how to set up against his teams, and we capitalized early. Really, it was about 7 or 8 really good games at the start that we rode our luck with after that. He got found out. He never really had a plan B. Allergic to making substitutions, which drove us insane. And ultimately stayed too long. He lost the dressing room sometime middle of last year, probably. Who knows? They haven't been playing for him for a long time, and then more craziness behind the scenes of it sounded like we were going to get rid of him earlier than we did, and then the preferred candidate found out about his working relationship with Kia, our super agent, who's pulling all the strings, and backed out. So that was that. We then held on to him for a little bit longer, terrible performances. And then we got that win against Preston, and everyone thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. We've managed to turn it around. And then immediately after the game, he said his goodbye, and off he went. And apparently before the game, they'd already decided Paul Ince was going to come in. Tom Ince came in, or Thomas, as he insists we should call him, came in on loan in January. So presumably that's where the conversation started when the preferred candidate didn't come along. Oh, my dad will do a job kind of a thing. We laughed at it a little bit. And then in recent weeks, some rumors have surfaced that Thomas Ince and Paul Ince are actually represented by Kia in some form. We don't know exactly how. So sounds like another one of those, somebody's lined their pockets at our expense. Impressions of Paul Ince, loved him as a player. You know, what England fan didn't enjoy him in the side, but as a manager, I think it's not that surprising he's been out of work for a bit, and some of the things he's come out with in post-match interviews has blown our minds. Also doesn't seem to like subbing players on. Yeah, I don't know. We're not thrilled, let's put it that way. It's another decision that probably was the wrong decision at the wrong time.
And when you say Kia, is it the Kia as in Jurabdan or whatever?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I bottled the pronunciation because I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone else with the name. But yes, that very, very much the one. One of our former players, a hero of ours, Stephen Hunt, from that record-breaking side that I'm trying not to mention because we sound like losers when all we talk about is that one time we broke the record. But it's all we got to hang on to at the moment. He's now an agent himself, Stephen Hunt. And when we got thumped by QPR a few weeks back, he tweeted out how ironic that the club that is being controlled by a certain agent is being beaten by the one that just got out of his grasp. So tells you all you need to know. People in the industry know what you're dealing with Kia.
Oh dear. Well, we've I can't say anything for legal reasons, but we've found out the hard way with super agents and agencies as well, right at the very start of our tenure with Venky's. So we feel your pain on that one, Dave, certainly. And obviously the table's starting to pan out now at both ends, isn't it? With Rovers up there in the playoffs. Reading now seemingly locked in this battle with Barnsley for the final relegation spot, with Derby and Peterborough a little bit further adrift. So what's the run-in like for Reading, and are you confident in staying up?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, after a couple of half-decent results, it looked like we might be able to pull Hull or maybe even Birmingham or Cardiff into the mix. They're gone now, so it's 3 from 4 to go down, and the run-in isn't too bad. We got a pretty decent point against Bournemouth midweek, so wasn't expecting anything there. I thought we were going to get another 6 or 7-0 hammering, so quite nice to see that we can occasionally pull something out of the bag. But confidence is not a word any Reading fan utters right now. some of us are resigned, so we probably will go down because Barnsley have turned things around a bit. Others are just dreadfully fearful that we might end up dropping. The run-in, the teams we have to play, we've got a lot of the really big guns out of the way at this point. The problem is we have plenty of teams to play that have things to play for. So yourselves tomorrow, which, by the way, if our survival didn't depend on it, I'm quite excited about Blackburn being up there in the mix because, takes me back to the 90s. You in the top flight would be phenomenal. It was a great time as a kid. But unfortunately, I do hope we derail that tomorrow because I would like to stay in the league. But yeah, I think if you look at our run-in and the other teams' run-ins, there's a lot of hoping for others to do something for us to be safe, which makes me a little nervous. Key, I think, will be if West Brom can get themselves back into the mix for the playoffs and they have something to play for. Last game of the season, Barnsley play them, and if they're already out of the mix and just planning for the next season in the Championship, I don't like the look of that. So I think that's what it will fall to. Yeah.
I'm just looking at your fixtures now. It's an interesting little run after Rovers, isn't it? So the Barnsley game, as you've mentioned, away. And then it just looks like 3 home games that you've got. Stoke, Cardiff, Swansea. That just feels like you need to get some points out of those. And then obviously Hull away, West Brom at home. So, yeah, interesting little spell coming up. But let's talk about bright sparks. Once again, the bright spark this season is Jonathan Swift. Ever important, chipping in with 11 goals and 13 assists. And one of only a few players to reach double figures for goals and assists in a season. I saw it on Twitter a few months ago, and he is one of only a few to have done that. So where would Reading be without Jonathan Swift? And how important is he for the running?
Well, he's critical. Without John Swift, we would be very much down already, I think, in many ways. He's towards the start of the season, it was if John Swift has a bad game, Reading has a bad game. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that now. There's many other reasons that we have a bad game now, but he's the one that is the entirety of our creativity 9 times out of 10. And he's been missing for 2 games now due to COVID. He caught COVID, and it's shown. We struggled to create. The other man on your screen there, Lucas João, is phenomenal, but he's not getting the service he gets when he has John Swift behind him. So that's been telling as well. Possibly good news for you. He has not returned to training, so very unlikely to be involved tomorrow. Jonathan
Swift not in training.
Correct. Yeah, still recovering from COVID. So you'll be happy. I'm sure there's some cheers going up with your viewers right now because he gives us a little something extra. He's had his bad games this season, but which player of ours hasn't? He's definitely a cut above for what he provides.
But in João, obviously the other man, as you referenced there, he could be a difference maker for Reading. If I think of Barnsley, Derby and Peterborough, I don't think they've got a player like João. I think on his day he's unplayable and right up there at this level. So how has he been for you this season? And if obviously Swift is not chipping in, is it down to him?
Yeah, I think he's another player that... so he was... The first half of the season, he was almost completely out, injured. I think, forget how many months exactly it was, but he came back just at the end of January, start of February. So we definitely missed him. Who knows if he'd have been around, maybe we would have papered over a few cracks with what he can do. Because like you say, he's probably the only player in the squad that you can rely upon for that little bit of magic. He can be doing nothing and then he'll just find a bit of space and pop a goal in. He's scored some great goals for us this season. It's funny to think of someone that did come back that late as being like one of our top players this season. It tells you a lot about what we're doing. But yeah, if there's no Swift, which there likely won't be tomorrow, it will be down to if he can get the service, if he can find a little bit of room, what can he do for us? Yeah.
And I was looking at the stats into Reading this season. It's fairly mid to lower table for most things, goals, possession and things like that. But the home form is less than convincing. It's just 5 wins, 19 points all season, which is 3rd worst in the Championship. So what's going on at home? What is the style of play, and what can we expect from Reading tomorrow? And I'd say particularly after that decent draw at Bournemouth, what can we expect from you tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down. So we hate playing at home. We haven't had a home win since against Barnsley October last year, October 16th. I think it sticks in the mind. We just don't like playing at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. I don't think it's because of the name, and I personally support the name, so that's fine. It's a local company, so we'll let that go. But regardless, I think that what will be key is that second half against Bournemouth, you started to see what we're thinking might be Paul Ince's game plan for us coming to fruition. It's a funny one. When I tell it to you, you'll laugh when you look at our last couple of results. But what we believe is keep it tight early on. Don't let them soak up the pressure. Don't let them score. Go in at 0-0, maybe half time, and then hit them with pressure second half. That's failed against Nottingham Forest because 17 seconds it took them to score. So that was out the window, and we capitulated after that. We then brought in a new keeper who started against Bournemouth, and I think he organises the defence with a little bit more confidence. Nyland. He may be key. I think if we can lock it down first half and not concede early for a change, because we conceded 7th or 8th minute against Bournemouth, so it was out the window there as well. Then maybe we'll see a little bit of something, and then you'll see the high press and trying to keep the ball in your half, not ours, because we are horrific when it comes to set pieces against corners, free kicks, anything. Reading fans don't like to watch it because we usually concede.
Well, we scored 2 goals from set pieces the other night, so that was refreshing from a Rovers fan perspective, most certainly. So before we came live, Dave, as we always do on the show, we've asked you for a predicted 11, and I will just flash that up on the screen now. 4-2-3-1 formation. Talk us through the side. Who's going to hurt us? Where you're expecting things to happen for Reading tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be Nyland's second game in goal. I can't imagine he'll drop out again. Southwood came up through our academy. He's our other goalkeeper. Started the season very well after coming in to replace Ayel, but lost his confidence and seems to have needed a bit of time out. So we brought Nyland in. He's a pretty solid keeper from what I can see. I've watched what he did before he got injured a few years ago at Villa, I believe, and you know what you're getting with him. He's pretty solid. When it comes to the back four, Andy Adam on the right back position there, one of our better performers. He's very much an attacking fullback. Does the defensive work decently well, but more so you'll see him as bringing up the right and linking up with whoever's on the right wing. He is one to watch for his energy. I think you'll get more problems from him than from the other fullback, which is Tom Mcintyre, young lad from our academy who's centre back, but our first choice left back this season, Baba Rahman, in on loan from Chelsea, is injured, so he's filling in and doing his best. I'm a little bit worried about how that might go if you've got someone decent down that right side. In the middle, hard to call here. Morrison will be in at one of the centre-back positions. The other one has been rotating between Scott Dan, who we have on loan right now, and Tom Holmes, who is also an academy product. I think he'll probably go with Dan if he's fit, just for a little bit more consistency. Holmes, he was all right against Bournemouth. He's had a few shaky games recently, so I think he might rest him if he gets the chance. Morrison, set pieces. If we get a corner, you might want to make sure your lads are marking him because he can pop up here and there, but not too much of a threat. The two in the defensive positions in midfield, Danny Drinkwater. He was all right against Bournemouth. You'll sense a theme in my answers here. Prior to that, he's been awful, to be honest. He was good for the first few games when he came in, but he's not very popular with us right now. But for whatever reason, he starts every game. If his passing's on point, you know what to expect with Drinkwater, but he's not the Drinkwater you watched on Match of the Day a few years ago. Andy run the motor, a lot of energy, a lot of industriousness, and one of the few people on our team that knows how to tackle. So you will need to keep an eye out for him. Tom Ince out on the right usually, and I think he'll be there again tomorrow. He's actually, there's cries of nepotism because of his dad being the manager and the fact that he doesn't get subbed off. He plays 90 minutes pretty much all the time. You will have to watch him because he showed against Bournemouth what he's capable of, which he was the one driving us forward. He was doing a lot of the running, a lot of the pressing, and really wanted to make a contribution there and turn the game around. And ultimately that led to a bunch of great set pieces, better deliveries than we've had all season with him on those, and worldie of a goal. I don't know if you saw it back from the midweek, but yeah, great hit. Josh Laurent is actually usually at a defensive midfield position, but in Swift's absence, he's been pushed up into more of the attacking sense of the word. He's not really an attacker. He does his best, but it's more, he helps with the high press, let's put it that way. So he'll have a shot now and again because he likes it, but not too much to worry about. And then I think we're going to see Hoylett back in on the left. Ajaria has been there the past couple of games, but hasn't been that effective. So I think we're going to see Junior Hoylett come in, and he still knows where the goal is. So you'll probably have a few pieces to watch with him. And then of course we've talked about Joao already, but yeah, if he can make himself a little bit of room, you're going to need to be on your game. Yeah.
3 ex-Rovers in that side, of course. Scott Dan, Junior Hoylett and Lucas Yao, who we did have on loan for a season. If there are areas of weakness, you've mentioned the set pieces already. Where else can Rovers hurt you tomorrow?
Scoring early. We tend to get frustrated with each other if you score early. I think targeting that left back, or if Tom Holmes is in, then going down the middle. It seems like they take a little while to settle, the 2 younger boys. So if it is those 2, then first 10 minutes we're at our weakest. And then I think that if you can snuff out Joao's movement, maybe put two on him, and then restrict the crosses coming in from either side, then we're going to struggle because we almost always concede. So if you can snuff out our couple of options for scoring, probably going to have a good day. Yeah.
And before we do our score predictions, Dave, it's we were just speaking about this before we came live. Interesting day tomorrow. Early kickoff, Sheffield United versus Barnsley. Obviously, you're 2 points ahead of Barnsley. Sheffield United are hunting us down. So we've both got a vested interest in that fixture for different reasons. Could you see the result of that game affecting how Reading might approach it? So say Barnsley were to sneak a win, for example. Could you see Reading maybe being a bit more positive, or vice versa? If you know that Barnsley have lost, maybe you stick with that keep it tight that you said earlier.
Yeah, I think the biggest worry for me is that the mental weakness of this team has been a problem for like 2 years. The things go against us and they don't handle it well. I think we're kind of in trouble either way. If that game ends in a Barnsley win, we will start the game in the relegation zone. And I don't know if they're going to be able to handle that. They're going to freak out. And I would love that to like spur them on and like, right, we know what we've got to do. We've got to get ourselves out of this. But I don't trust them to do it. If Barnsley lose, then I could see very much that's a relief. We're not in the relegation zone. And then they don't come out and apply anything. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm being harsh there. But that's what we've seen for a couple of years now, that every time you think like, right, it's in your hands, boys, come on, let's do something, they've let us down. So fingers crossed that we aren't talking about this after the game. Yeah.
And the final one before we do the score predictions, Dave, what have you made of Rovers this season? Because I have seen just little sniffs on Twitter comparing us to Reading, actually, from last season. We've had this apparent slide in our form. We're not as red hot as some of the other sides around us, but we're hanging on in there. Are you tipping Rovers to finish the job and come in the top 6? What have you made of us? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I got really excited earlier on in the season. As I say, I've got no beef with Blackburn Rovers. No rivalry, no ill will towards any past events. I was a kid in the 90s, so I remember when you won it and the Premier League, and that was brilliant. So I'd love to see you back up again. I think I got a bit excited earlier in the season when I thought you might challenge for autos. I thought that'd be brilliant. Just someone different up there. That'd be brilliant. And now that you are where you are, I mean, it's in your hands, and you score a lot of goals. That's usually the big thing for me, is a team putting goals past the opposition. And granted, I'm not watching you every week, but generally speaking, you seem to be able to find the net. Be nice if you had your talisman striker in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. Is he likely to be back before the end of the season, or is he done?
He's not going to be back till after the international break. And Chile are taking him to their World Cup qualifiers, which is a source of contention at the moment. So they are exercising their rights under a FIFA rule. So we just got to hope he can play.
It's the last thing you want to see. But I think the if he's back in and he's firing again, then I can't see why you wouldn't do it. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping to see a playoff campaign for you. Obviously, just starting from Sunday onwards.
Yeah, it's been a real grind for us in recent months. 3 goals in 12 games and just 3 wins as well. But it all came together on Tuesday night after a hellish first half, I've got to say. 3 goals in the second half. Feel good factor back. So if we can get past this Reading game, get Diaz back after the international break, I think we're hoping we can just get a few more wins and get over the line. But it's closer than we were wanting it to be, put it that way. And teams have got games in hand on us for sure. So, Dave, we have reached the part of the show then where you and I are put on the spot with our score predictions. Rovers fans watching, get all of your score predictions in the comments, and I will run through those before the show finishes. So, Dave, what is your prediction? How do you think the game's going to go?
Yeah, so I did our prediction. I was on our podcast looking back on the Bournemouth game, and we ended that with a prediction. And I was quite confident at that moment. And then I remembered who I supported, and I've toned it down a little bit. So I'm going to be the Reading brand of optimistic now, and I'm going to say 1-1 draw. And the reason for that is similar to Bournemouth. I think you'll breach us for sure, but I'm just hoping that we can take a little bit of that fight back and come back into the game possibly and level it up. But not very exciting, but I think I'm going to go with 1-1. Yeah.
1-1. I'm saying a 2-0 Rovers victory. So we are hoping and praying that he goes with the formation that ended the Derby game. So he went to this 4-2-3-1 formation, but I just don't think he's going to do it. I think he's going to be worried about Lucas João, and I think we're going to stick to that wing-back formation. So it would not surprise me if it's 0-0 at half-time and quite tight and quite boring. And then I do think we'll switch it in the second half, and I think we'll get the job done 2-0 in front of our away fans, hopefully. So, yeah, 2-0 is what I'm saying. We've got some predictions in already, Dave. So Kev was first. Here we are. We create chances in case we can take them like the Derby game. We score early, and I can see us getting a few 3-0 Rovers. Yeah, an early goal would be nice, wouldn't it, Kev? Certainly. Dave, we haven't scored in the first half at Ewood Park since the 29th of December. So first half goals are a premium for us at the moment.
Okay. Well, our home form will probably help you with that. So there you go. Yeah.
Steve has gone 3-1 Rovers. David, 2-1 Rovers. Tight game with a crazy spell after half-time to sort things out. Oh, don't do that to me, Dave. Alexander has gone 2-1 Rovers. So that is across the board. Some positivity there from Rovers fans. And Alexander's going for João, Gallagher and Bradley Dack. What a story that would be if Bradley Dack got the winning goal there, Alexander. Good shout. So Rovers fans, you've probably got about 30 seconds to get your score prediction in before Dave and I say goodbye. But Dave, just want to thank you for giving up your time and talking Reading to us. It's been great to have the insight. And, as I say, I really hope all this off the field stuff sorts itself out, because I hate seeing clubs go through the ringer. And I think Rovers fans, touch wood, are lucky at the moment that Venky's just blindly keep pumping the money in, and the way that they fund the club doesn't leave us in as precarious a situation as it could be. But that could all change, and that always makes me nervous. So I hate seeing other clubs going through it. So I really hope it sorts itself out, because the fans lose out, don't they? So there we go.
Yeah, the part that you may not know as a Rovers fan, the ironic part is this is our 150th anniversary this year. So to have this all happening when we're supposed to be celebrating being being 150. But yeah, appreciate what you said. Hope the Venkies don't turn back to bad for you. And hopefully a couple of seasons from now, 1, we're in the same league, and 2, we're talking about a change of affairs at our place. Yeah.
And David, just backing that up there, decent club, Reading. Hope the fans get what they deserve. Better than this. Yeah, absolutely, David. 150-year-old club. You know, Derby fan who I spoke to, you know, on the last show, they're a founder member of the Football League as well. It just absolutely stinks. I hate how this goes on. And yeah, it's just horrible. So we hope it sorts itself out. And Jackie, you have snuck in with a score prediction. Jackie is going 3-1 Rovers. Thank you, Jackie. And then Steve, yeah, we have seen Bournemouth's run in. They will be lucky to get auto promotion. You never know. It could be us, Steve. I like that. We'll end on that positivity. There we go. So, Dave, thank you for giving up your time, mate. Enjoy the game. And Rovers fans, if you are at the Select Car Leasing Stadium tomorrow, enjoy the match. I'll be there. If not, go and join Jared on our watch along as usual. He'll be live about 2:30 and taking you through all of that. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please give this video a very big like for us, and we will see you soon. Come on, you Blues. See you later. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.